Thanks for tuning in to episode 33 of Squeezing the Plums. This episode is one that every single person could resonate with, and it's something to do with your friends. And over time, I've realized how important my friendships are and how important it is to discern who my real friends are. And so I'm going to give you my formula, my simple formula to know if your friends are real or if your friends are just people that you can leave in your outer circle. Now, everyone has heard of the quote by Jim Rohn, you become the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. But the extension of that is make sure your circle isn't keeping you small. Now, if you want to even take that a step further, have you heard of the saying, if your circle doesn't inspire you, it's not a circle, it's a cage? Now, for a lot of people, that might hit home because whether it's a friend or whether it's a family member, we tend to have someone in our group or in our lives that we feel like we're attached to, we're caged in by, that we can't really get any sort of mutual friendship out of it because it feels like it's draining the essence of our life out of us. And, I always use the analogy, it's like trying to read the label from inside the bottle. Sometimes this is happening to us and we just can't see it. And ironically, it's our friends that are meant to be able to help us get perspective of the situations and the times in which we can't be able to see what's blaringly obvious and in front of us. And so, what do you do if you feel like you've been taken for a ride in your relationships or your friendships and you have nobody to help you assess the nature of the friendships you have? Well, there's a simple formula and I put it together and it's called P plus V plus C with no T. And, for those math nerds, it's P plus V plus C when T equals 0. And effectively, one of the most important things that I wanted to demonstrate in this podcast was how you could have all 3 positive traits for a friend and they still shouldn't be part of your circle. Because T, which stands for toxicity, is something that a lot of us cannot identify in friends until we're left in this awkward position. For instance, on my 3rd podcast, I had a guy called Cam on, who's one of my best mates, and he explained how he had some great relationships with friends, especially when he was going out and partying and socializing. However, what he didn't realize was the toxic traits that his friends also had alongside all the positive ones. And so there are 3 key things that you should know which would help you determine if your friends are toxic. And here they are right for you now. Friends who discourage your ambition. If you are ambitious or you're trying to move towards something, you're trying to better your life, it may be go to the gym. In Cam's case, it definitely was on that 3rd podcast. It might be wanting to start up your own online channel or start up your own business or, maybe go traveling or do these things that you've never really done before. And you have friends that sort of discourage your ambition, with no reason whatsoever. They're generally toxic friends. People who bring drama and distraction to your life are toxic friends. And people that bring drama and distraction to your life, they will most likely drain the energy out of you like you wouldn't believe. Yet, for some reason, I bet you all have one friend that you still will rationalize and make time for because they've been friends for either ages or they're a close connection or there's someone that you just have to validate because you can see them fitting into a puzzle of other friends and you don't want to cause a ruckus in amongst that group. And the final one is, and I think this is the most toxic trait out of all of them, is any friend that you perceive who tries to one-up you or can't celebrate your wins. And it happened to a mate of mine the other day where his Instagram page has just recently blown up. And I remember speaking to him and I'm like, he's like, it's all good. Like everything's been positive. But there's this one mate of mine who's also been trying to blow up his Instagram page and he hasn't, and he's cracked it at me. And it hurts because he was my really good friend. And now we're not friends simply because my page has blown up before his, even though I know and I respect the fact that he's been doing heaps of work on his page for a lot longer. It's these type of people that are only going to be happy if they are in a better position than you are. This is toxic. And before I even go into the positive traits of anyone, if anyone possesses these qualities, they don't make the cut. Now, I remember in terms of from like a personal experience, I was, I had friends later on in life. I didn't really have many friends at school. And when I went to university, I was in that sort of mix of trying to make friends and get along with people and yada, yada, all that type of stuff. And I remember there was this one guy at uni, and he was a pretty smart dude. He was a mature age student. He was a smart guy. Um, and, seemingly he wanted to help everyone. And I remember my best mate at the time, me and him did uni together, and he's like, Steve, this guy is a fucking snitch. And I was like, bro, relax. He's a nice dude. He's helping people out. Like, he's like, mate, Steven, you have to listen to me. I've seen these people before. He's a snitch. He's one of those guys that is two-faced. Now, I'm like, that's the cynicism in my friend. I see the good side in people. We'll all be good. But over time, what I started to find was some of these things started to ring true, and nothing rang true more than we had this group assignment in year 3. And I don't know if you've all done group assignments before, but it requires, even contribution. And our group was a kick-ass group. We had some super smart people in there, and we all evenly contributed. But what we didn't know was after we did it, it was going to be peer reviewed. And it was an anonymous peer review. So each group would mark another group's assignment. Obviously, your name's on the poster and, all of that type of jazz. And we found out that we got graded like 70%. And I'm telling you, the guys that were on this actual project, they were weapons and they were smart dudes. And anyways, we ended up finding out from one of the lecturers who marked it. And he gave us the down low that most of the people in the other group that marked it gave it a high mark, high 80s to low 90s. But it was this one guy that I thought was a pretty good bloke who marked us down considerably. And he was, like, no joke, taking the P1SS out of all of us. Anyways, we all confronted him after we found out, and you should have seen him just change his attitude. Oh, no. There must have been a mistake. Like, oh, it wasn't like that, fellas. It was just more so I found this and, yeah, it must have been misconstrued. And I was like, wow, how did I not see this? How did I not see that this type of person had that in them? And maybe there's that type of person there for you. And so what I needed to do was learn the habits or things that I needed to ensure within myself to make sure this never, ever happened again. And now I can confidently say that I have got the best friendship group I could have ever hoped for. And here's 3 things that you can do to determine if you've got a toxic friend and test them out a little bit. 1, play big and don't play small. How do people respond when you try to play big in life? Do they encourage you or do they bring you back down? 2, is the net conversation about growth or about drama? Is the majority of the time you're talking always about shit going wrong, happening, this, that, and the other? That's sort of like, dramatizing things that are unnecessary? Or is it about how we improve one another's lives? How we can contribute and listen and make one another grow to bigger and better places? And 3, see if they value your traits as a person more than your opinion. There is, in this day and age, so many people that will bar you off if you do not align with your opinions and their opinions. And I think that's bullshit. I think the best qualities about a good friendship group is that we have different opinions all coming in because it adds a level of uniqueness and individualism. And there are so many people that just want to live in a little echo chamber that they have no idea how the rest of the world works. So if I were you, I'd see if some of these friends of yours are happy for you to have your own opinion, and full and well knowing that it's a considerated opinion and also that you have values in place that, are the main reason why they should be your mate. Now, if you've removed the friends that have toxicity, that leaves you with the formula PVC, which stands for positivity, vulnerability, and consistency. This is called the Friendship Triangle, and this was a term that I found after doing a considerable amount of research last year. And this was one of the most valuable things I found because a lot of friends can have 2 out of these 3 traits. But if you want to develop your inner circle of friends, they need to have all 3. So let me talk about it. We all have friends which are positive and vulnerable, but not consistent. For instance, you might have a friend that is like you haven't seen in years, but every time you catch up, it's a great time. And you can talk about anything, you can go in depth about whatever. But once that conversation finishes, you don't catch up, you don't reach out, nothing happens, and the consistency drops off. Now, these type of friends are the ones that we rationalize and make excuses for the most, and probably for good reason, because we know that they're either good blokes or good girls, and we get along with them well. However, to keep your circle tight is super important, and you have to realize when people are investing in you and vice versa. If you are reaching out and you are trying and they are not giving anything back until it suits them, then what I would be saying is they are the type of friends that you need to remove from your inner circle to just your outer circle. And you need to be turning your time and energy to somewhere else. Now, the next one, vulnerability. We have friends which are super positive and super consistent, and these tend to be the friends that you go out with on the weekend. These tend to be the friends that, you can catch up and speak shit with. These are the friends that, are hilarious, but when it comes down to wanting to be able to talk about stuff that is deep and intrinsic, they don't really show up for that. And that has their own reasons for it. But my big thing around that is this: friendship and relationship grows upon vulnerability, grows upon being able to trust someone with information that's close to your chest. And if they don't, or you don't communicate vulnerably about certain things, and it doesn't have to be your deepest traumas, it could be how you feel about a girl or your partner, or how you feel about the test you're about to take, makes you nervous or makes you excited that you're going to dominate and you're planning this massive going away trip, but you don't want to seem arrogant because you've planned it all ahead of doing and thinking you're going to get great results. Vulnerability can take different shapes and sizes, but if you cannot be vulnerable at all in any way, shape, or form, then most of these friends we tend to find fit into the party friend category. The fun friend, but not the friend that is in your inner circle. And then finally is probably the draining friend. So you have the friends that are vulnerable and consistent, but lack positivity. The whole purpose behind that is we do have friends that are open to us. Generally, they're more open to us about their own problems than we can be open to them about. And they're consistently there about it as well. But when it comes to hanging out with them, we end up feeling more drained and tired than anything else. Now, we call them energy vampires, and those friends are the ones that tend to be more self-centered than self-aware. And as a result of that, take your energy and take your time, maybe without them even knowing. But these are the people you need to move from your inner circle to your outer circle, because they might have kind intentions, but they definitely don't know how to deliver it. And the result generally is you end up leaving drained and not really excited about seeing them again. Now, that PVC, that's an absolute ripper with T not involved. And I'm sure in your friendship groups, you might be able to find that there will be people that fit in all those categories, P, V, and C. But it's very rare for you to find a friend that ticks all 3 of those traits. And if you do, double check. Do they have toxic behaviors or not related to yourself? Because if they do, then that's something you have to be super careful about getting yourself involved in. Now, to finish, remember this quote: not every friendship is a life sentence. Some are just chapters meant to end so you can move forward in the story of you.